click OK, save it. Now query one becomes outstanding student, and it showed up here, outstanding student. So with this saved, we can take a quick peek to see what's going on. So go to run on the design ribbon. Okay, this is what we are going to see. Okay, for this pound sign indicated, simply indicated we don't have enough space, just like Microsoft Excel. So put the cursor on the title, between the title bars. Whenever you see the sign changed, double click. It will automatically find out the best fit at this point. Okay. So by doing this, actually we may have noticed one student only shows up one time, because we group by student ID and this piece information, first name, last name, major, and graduated not. The others we don't show, we simply get the totals or average. That's what we have. If this is the case, which means you are okay as well at this point. 5 seconds, any questions up to this point? Seems no. Okay, I'm going to continue. Go back to design view again. Now we need to put the constraints on it. So number one, the graduate status is no. In the criteria section, we put no here. Okay, not graduated, number one. Number two, course count. We found how many courses a student has taken. But for us, in order to show the record, the course number has to be greater than 1. If you only get 1, will not be included. Possible business interpretation would be if you only take 1 course, may not be represented. This course click happen to be 4.0, happen to be 0.0. That's not it's not that representative. In this case, we are going to exclude this kind of scenario. So we have to say greater than 1. Okay, that's the second criteria. Third criteria is the average grade. Average grade will be in this column, red column, has to be greater than 3.85. Okay. So those are the 3 criteria we have to specify to qualify the record. Which record will show up? Not for every record. Or business interpretation is not for every student. Only those group of students that satisfy this criteria will show up. And the next one is in what kind of sequence? In the descending order by average grade. So average grade is here. In this column, we have to show this in descending order. We have sort, and then specify this as descending. Okay, so I'm going to stop here for 10 seconds. Make sure you have all this information. On the top of the previous operation, we added 3 criterion and 1 sorting function. So criteria, this CRSID column greater than 1, grade column greater than 3.85, graduated, no. And sort by average grade in descending order, and the sort. 5 seconds before I proceed. Yeah, seems no question. That's good. So save the work. Now take a look again, run it again. So much better, much shorter, makes sense. Okay. At least check the criteria, because we want to make sure our results satisfy managers or users requirements. So course number Total courses greater than 1, so only 2, 4, 9, that's greater than 1. Average grade greater than 3.85, yes. Only things we have a little bit more decimal point. We can fix that later. Graduated or not, we don't have to see any check mark. That's good. Okay. Only thing left is that number 1, average grade has to be in 3 decimal points. This is too many. Number 2, graduated or not, we don't have to show up, even though we use this as a criteria, but we don't need to show this information on the list. Okay. And this piece is not required from list perspective. It's not required by the customer or manager. And the other one we mentioned, those caption, total courses. But here we don't show total courses. We only see count of CRSID. I don't have enough space, so I double click here. I see sum of credit hours. I don't see total credit hours. And this one, I see AVG of grade. I don't see average grade. So those are the couple of what I call it editorial thing. From a design perspective, that's more editorial. But from business perspective, they don't view that as editorial. They don't know. They simply say, hey, you have not fulfilled my requirement yet. Okay. So here we are dealing with 2 types of issues. One is the technical issue. The other one is editorial issue. But in either case, we need to use to fulfill customers' requirements or users' requirements. So in this case, we have to fix those one. We go back to the design view. And this time, we need to, for example, let's do the first one, CRSID. We have to put the cursor inside this column, maybe underneath a blank area. Okay, first one, I want to, before I proceed, I want to wait whole class for maybe 1 or 2 seconds. You put the cursor inside this column, any blank space inside CRSID. Right click. On the list, choose properties, last one. Okay. Now, on the right-hand side, you see the property sheet shows up. Now, cursor is still here, which means whatever we are going to do in this property sheet will work on the CRSID column. Okay. So the one we are going to work on is the caption in this case. CRSID caption, we are going to use this to represent total courses. So we type in total courses. Total courses. Okay. The cursor was under CRSID and bring up this property sheet and type in total courses in the caption box. All set? Okay. Now, if no question, let's click credit hours, this column. Click one. We were in the course ID column. You can double check. We enter the total courses. Now move to credit hours. If you don't see this, you can still bring this up. Since we've already it's already there. So if you click any cell, blank cell in credit hours, and you see a blank property sheet. In this case, we go to caption again, enter total credit hours. Total credit hours. Okay, I'm going to wait you here. I know most of the time you type much faster than I do. Okay, now let's move on to the next column, grade column. Click there. We have to do a little bit more in this column. let's do the caption first. Here is the average grade. Okay, that's the caption. Now, once you wait for maybe a couple of seconds. So once this is done, remember we still have another requirement. For average grade, we want to show 3 decimal points, not too many, not too little. So in order to fulfill that requirement, still in this column and on this property sheet, you see the format. Click inside, choose fixed. And in decimal places, choose 3. Okay, that's what we need to do. So again, I'm going to wait here. Just I don't want to miss you. In this case, we don't need to switch back and forth. So under grade column, any blank area, blank space. And on the property sheet, put the format as fixed, decimal places as 3, caption as average grade. Some of you may have already finished. In that case, you save and run to see the results. For others, I just to be on safe side, I'm going to wait here before I leave. Wait here for a few more seconds. Okay. So once this is done, you can double check. Click inside credit hours. You see 1 total credit hours. And then click under course ID. You see 1 total courses. And then come back to grade. You see fixed 3 average grade. Okay, I'm thinking we are okay now. So I can close this property sheet and save the work and run. Okay, and I can resize this one based on your preference. That's not required for the project, but if you resize it, that's good. If you have not resized it, and no point will be deducted. But from business perspective, maybe resizes is better. So 3 decimal point. Okay. So almost done. Almost. One tiny thing left. We don't need to show graduated. Okay. So go back to design view. We don't need to show does not mean we need to delete it. We simply there's one check, show checkbox, uncheck this. It is still there. We simply don't show the information. Okay. Come back to design view. Under graduated column, uncheck this box. So we are going to use this as a criteria to qualify the record. Which record will show up? But we don't want to show the information of the graduate status. Okay? So that's what we need to do, operation-wise or implementation-wise. So save and run it again. So that will be the results managers or users like to see based on the questions of query number 2, 5-2. So this query is done. So I'm going to wait here for 10 more seconds and